It's Real Madrid and Manchester City.
And a heavyweight clash needs a presenter worthy of the occasion.
Whatever, Nedum. Manchester City will be hoping to become the first English side to win on multiple occasions in Madrid. And if we do, we'll be avenging the painful result from this stage last season.
So, there are a few things different to last season, and one man stands out in particular.
Looking towards Stones and Haaland! 3-0! City in dreamland!
Erling Haaland has 35 goals in 27 Champions League games. That's the best ratio of any man in history.
Join him
And him,
as we bring you plenty from Madrid this evening,
including a few special guests pitchside at the Bernabeu.
Thanks so much there to FG and to Nedum, having the absolute time of their lives in Madrid. And I hope all the City fans that are out in Madrid, obviously, I hope you're having an absolutely incredible time out there. We can see the players are arriving at the Bernabeu as we speak, and I'm loving their Champions League outfits again. We will be bringing you all of the team news the second that we are allowed. You know that Matchday Live is the first place to get your team news anywhere in the world. We will bring you the team news the second we are allowed. And Pep looking cool, looking calm, he's looking collected. He is a man there ready. Big welcome to Match Day Live. I'm Natalie Pike. Thank you so much for joining us ahead of the Champions League semi-final. A big game calls for a big panel of guests, and we are bringing you three absolute legends. Now, City have been breaking stats all season. We've been talking about stats this and stats that and Erling stats, and we lose track of the stats. So I thought we'd introduce our guest tonight with some stats. So first up, we have the legendary Sean Goater. Now, it says here, scored over 100 goals for Manchester City, Sean, but I know that's 103 because I'm your biggest fan. Fun fact about Sean, holds the record for the most number of goals scored by a Bermudan footballer in international matches. 32 goals for Bermuda during your career. You're your country's all-time leading goal scorer. Despite retiring in 2004 from international football, Sean, you still hold that record. Big welcome to Sean Goater.
Oh, what an intro. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, special
night, special intros. Right, yes. We go across the sofas. We're, of course, joined by our captain. It is Steph Horton. Won many things, including 3 FA Women's Super League titles, 5 Women's FA Cups, and many League Cup titles as well. Also been named PFA Women's Player of the Year in 2016, been named in the PFA Team of the Year on multiple occasions, and of course, an inspiration to us all. Welcome, Steph.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
I don't really know what to say, to be honest.
Well, we're saving the best one for last.
And we've got Paul Dickov.
We go across. Certainly, last but not least, Paul, former Manchester City striker Paul Dickov, did you know, was once voted the 4th sexiest man in Scottish football. Yes, you heard that
that's
right.
That's not very difficult, by the way. Trust me on that. I don't know whether to be happy or disappointed with that one.
Who picked you, Paul? Who came 3rd, 2nd and 1st?
Don't tell me it was Colin Henry.
I don't actually know. I wish I knew now. Yeah. Of course, scorer of, if not one of the most important goals in the club's history. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
We jest. Which one was more important to you, 4th sexiest or scoring that goal?
I quite like the full sexiest one.
I love that. Well, welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm glad the three of you are here because you all know what I get like before these games.
Yes.
Ridiculously nervous. I've barely spoken to anybody in the whole time that we've been here. Now, I will bring you the team news the second that we are allowed to bring you any team news. We will bring it to you. First place you can get it is here. Before the team news come, just reminder as well, as always, get downloading the official Manchester City app. That is the best place to get your commentary for the game today. So, Sean, how are you feeling?
Well, I could calm your nerves because I'm actually excited. I'm really looking forward to this. I think, over the years, as a team, we have just got better and better, which is why I feel even more comfortable with games like this and nights like this. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Oh, good. You always make me feel better, so I am glad that you're here. We're also joined on a React to wall by some fans around the world as well. Welcome to the wall. Hello! Thumbs up, you all well? Good stuff. We're going to be chatting to our fans throughout the show as well. Right, it's time. I have the team news for you. Here is Manchester City's starting 11 for the Champions League semi-final. And in goal, it is Edison. And then it's Walker, Stones, Diaz and Akanji. Then you can see Rodri, Captain Gundogan, De Bruyne, Silva, Grealish and Haaland. So that's your starting 11. On your bench, you've got Ortega, Carson, Phillips, Laporte, Alvarez, Gomez, Mahrez, Foden, Palmer and Rico Lewis. So that is your City squad for tonight's semi-final of the Champions League. Now, before we get the thoughts of our guests and of the fans, we're going to go back out to Madrid because FG and Nedum have, a very, very special guest. Oh, we'll have it in just a second. They are just warming up that special guest, apparently. So, initial reactions there, Paul, to that team? I
think it's, and Steph were just saying before we came on, I think it's probably the strongest team at the minute. I know Nathan Ake, if he's fit, probably plays. I'm glad Kyle's playing, because we all know about Vinicius Junior there. His pace and everything else, and Kyle handled him really well in the 2 games last season. But look, it's a top team, and like Sean just said, I'm not nervous. I'm just super excited for this game tonight.
I love that. I love that. He always makes me feel so much better. He's just super excited about it. And if he's excited, can you imagine FG's face right now? He's genuinely always the most excited man around. But he's got a very, very special guest. I can't wait to see his face. Over to FG and Nedum in Madrid.
Thank you, Nat. Welcome to the Santiago Bernabeu. We are not only joined by the trophy we're trying so hard to get our hands on, we're also pitchside at the Bernabeu, and I'm also with my mate Nedum. Nedum, what a special place to be, and a special night, hopefully, for Manchester City.
Yeah, for sure. It feels absolutely incredible to be here. This is one of those iconic stadiums, iconic football clubs, especially in this competition. A lot have called them the kings of it, and for City, they come in here trying to dethrone the current champions. And it feels like it could definitely happen. This is one of 2 very big games.
The atmosphere has been quite special amongst not only Real Madrid fans who we heard earlier on, but also City fans. We caught up with them a little bit in the square yesterday. The Withenshaw guys, shout out to them. The atmosphere is great between City fans, and there seems like a bit more level of confidence compared to previous.
Yeah, there is, and I think it's because, they have seen a team come here before, and I think for the majority of the tie last season, they were the better side. So they arrive here with an Erling Haaland as well, amongst other things. So as a consequence, they know it's tough, but they'll have the belief. They're not a team that believes that they'll lose to anybody. And I think for the way that they play, this type of occasion, it won't scare them. And I think it's the same for the fans. It's not the first time here. So as a consequence, as I say, the belief is definitely there.
We played almost the perfect game last year. Sorry to bring that back up again. But there was one thing that you spoke to me about off camera, which was the atmosphere when they conceded the Mahrez goal. You saw the Real Madrid fans waving their flags and stuff like that. Have you ever played in a stadium where the atmosphere has been that loud that it actually does affect you? And can it affect players?
Yeah, I think it certainly can, but it's not necessarily the atmosphere, it's the play on the field as well. Because if a team's playing badly and their crowd is singing loudly, it doesn't mean that things become harder for them. But I think if the team then starts playing well, like the 2 sort of go hand in hand. It's almost like a chicken or the egg, essentially. So it can be very, very tough. And in this place, like, Real Madrid in the Champions League is one of those places which most people try and avoid if they could. But the fact is, on this journey to get to the final, City have to come up against them, and they've got the players to be able to come and get a result. And it will be tough, of course it will be. But why would a Champions League semi-final be easy?
Let's talk about Kyle Walker, who were on a podcast with recently, so he's technically your mate now. Yeah. He's up against Vinicius Junior. There's a lot of talk. Obviously, he wasn't fully fit last year. He's super important. He's got the pace, and it surely plays into our favour.
Yeah, but it's about more than the pace. It's the way in which he defends as well. Like, he will use his pace if he has to, but his reading of the game, his experience, his understanding of these big moments, it's huge. And as I look back last season, I think he only got maybe 60 minutes as a chance to go up against Vinicius. And it's always going to be tough against some of the best attackers in the world. But, myself and probably tens of thousands of other Man City supporters, we really enjoy it when Kyle Walker's playing. And hopefully this is one of those big days for him.
We hope we are here to witness history. We've got the trophy that we're so desperate to get in front of us. For now, from me and Nedum, let's head back to the studio.
I knew he'd have a face like that. He's so excited. So just before we went to them, when I said we were going to and then we didn't, it was because they were supposed to speak to us, and then out the corner of the eye, they saw the Champions League trophy, and the two of them went over and basically manhandled it and got the people to bring it over. So well done to them. Hopefully they're the first City-related people that are getting their hands on that trophy this season. We'll be back to FG and to Nedum a little bit later. They're going to be trying to, quite frankly, see who else they can grab that's pitchside at the Bernabeu tonight. So let's have a chat now about the team. Steph, I mentioned at the start, joking around about the number of stats that we've broken and we're talking about this season, but I want to go back to another one. Rodri made his 200th appearance for the club when he came on as a substitute against Leeds. He's just been an absolute phenomenon. I mean, in that Bayern Munich game, he just looked like a man possessed. How important is he going to be for the game tonight?
He's massively important. I think probably people looked at him last season. He probably didn't have that consistency in terms of what he has now. And I think that comes with age and experience and probably working under Pep Guardiola. And I think a City team with all the bigger games that we've played this season, he has always been one of the standout players and he's the one that controls the tempo. But for me, defensively, he's able to read the game so good. And I think that's what he's really improved on this season, is that physical ability to kind of read different situations, but to stop attacks, and especially against Real Madrid tonight, that's going to be massively crucial. But to make 200 appearances at his age at this club is pretty special.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was thinking, that seems to have gone really, really fast. He joined in the summer of 2019, Sean, which just shows you in that short period of time how many games he's played every single season.
Yeah, and well, we see this season as well. Pep just really, really likes him. He sees the job that he does, and he totally gets and understands what Pep's looking for. For me, he's great at protecting in terms of defence, in terms of keeping clean sheets, but also sustaining attack. So when we're up there attacking, he's also right on the edge of things to win that ball back and then start it again, recirculate it, and keep them right up there and keep those attacks going. So he's a phenomenal player. I just love, you can't but help but love watching him, because he's just there all the time, and at the nick of time, he just comes into an area, receives the ball, turns out, goes out the other side, and you thought, we were in trouble. It looked like we were going to lose it, but he's just come at the right time. His timing to arrive into a space to receive it and then go out the other side is unbelievable. It's just a brilliant player to watch, and so I look forward to watching him, because again, he's playing against other world-class players as well.
48 appearances this season already, Paul. 48. Most clubs don't play that many games. Rodri's played 48 times. Obviously got rested. He came on but got rested on Saturday, and I have to admit, I was so happy to see him get a rest, Paul.
Yeah, I think everybody was. I mean, he's so important to how they play. I'll maybe go as far as saying that he's probably the most important player in the team in that position. And one of the biggest compliments he can play. I was really worried when Fernandinho was coming to the end, because he'd been unbelievable for us, and how we're going to replace him. It's not saying we've forgot about Fernandinho, because he's an unbelievable servant to the club, but Rodri's went in there, and if anything, he's took his game to a different level. He's took the team to a different level, and he's happy doing that position. He sits in front of the back four, he puts out fires left, right, and centre, and he's the one 9 times out of 10 that starts our attacks and allows Jack, allows Kevin, allows Gundo, Riyad, Phil, Erling, Bernabeu to go and play their game, and he's just so important to how Pep wants to play, and so important to the team. And I'll go as far as saying he's the best in that position in the world.
He did the press conference yesterday, and whenever he speaks, Steph, he just speaks like a leader. I mean, he speaks like he's the captain of the club, and obviously you'll know all about what it takes to be a captain. He's just a natural-born leader.
Yeah, I think, and he shows that by the performances that he puts on every single week. To play that many games and to be constantly picked just shows that you're doing the right thing, and Pep really rates the way that he plays. And I think the scary thing is there's so much more for him to go and to get even better. And I think when Rodri's not probably one player that we talk about quite a lot, because we've got the likes of Haaland, we've got De Bruyne, those players that are attacking, and they obviously sometimes make the difference. But without him this season, I think scoring goals like that, it just shows that he's just improving all the time, and he just brings a calmness to the team as well, and that's what I think he kind of portrays in the press conferences.
What a goal, Sean. You'd have had that, wouldn't you?
I would. I don't think my left foot was anywhere near as good as that, but this just shows the quality. I mean, He scores those blockbuster goals, certainly with his right foot, but that's a blockbuster with his left. I mean, you see the keeper has absolutely no chance. And this is another thing that he has in his game. When he's up around the edge of the box, he's a really good striker of the ball. I was going to say decent, but it's more than decent. It's more than decent. He's an absolute exceptional striker of the ball, and just seeing there with his left foot, he's just put it out of the reach of the keeper, and the keeper has no chance.
Oh, unbelievable finish. We'll chat to our fans on our React To wall in just a second and get the fans' opinion, obviously, on Rodri as well. But just an absolute phenomenon. It feels like, Paul, he's, like I say, in that Bayern Munich game, he was like a man possessed. Hearing him in the press conferences, he was talking about revenge, which, by the way, I absolutely loved. He just seems absolutely singularly focused on winning absolutely everything that he can. His mentality is insane.
It is, but I think, look, there's a little bit of what happened last season in Madrid, and being Spanish, obviously, and having to go away with a lot of his teammates who are at Real Madrid, who won the Champions League last year, and it'll add that little bit extra special for him. But look, he's top. I know Pep came out and said it's not about getting revenge, but we all know when you suffer a defeat like you did last season, in the changing room, the lads talk about it, and they'll be desperate to go out there and put it right tonight.
Yeah, Pep said no, but Rodri immediately said yes. Come on, Steph, from a player, you've been beaten by a team before, like in a heartbreaking circumstances, you come up to play them again, are you thinking revenge?
Of course you are.
Yes.
It's only natural. I'm not going to sit here and lie, and I think you do use it as motivation, and I think it's how you kind of use that. You don't want to get too emotional, and you want to kind of do what you've done the whole of the season. But I think I like the fact that he's so honest in that, because you could easily just sit there and go no, but it obviously means so much, and I think that hopefully that experience from last year will kind of do us well tonight and get used to the atmosphere, and kind of, I think the squad overall looks in a better shape in terms of before when we played Real Madrid. You've got the likes of Kyle Walker's now fully fit, and you've got the likes of Haaland that's come into the team, so I think City are definitely in a better position.
So another stat for us all, Sean. At the weekend, Bernardo Silva made his 300th appearance for City. Wow, again, I look at it and I just can't believe he's played that many games. But again, he's another one, he's just so consistent. And I feel like this game, Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, I feel like it's made for him. He's going to absolutely revel in this.
Yes, I mean, Bernardo Silva is such a quality player. And, it seems as though when we come up against these top quality teams, and perhaps they have a fullback that has electric pace, he seems to go with Bernardo to say, well, it's all right you having that pace, but I have a player that you can't get the ball over, and that's a huge quality. And when we see this game here, he absolutely. Alphonso Davies could not live with him. I mean, when he hit the ball, he found it difficult to get it off him, and he drove him back. And the threat of Alphonso Davies in this game was really non-existent, because, again, his quality to drive him back and keep possession, which ended up being a weapon for us. So I think Pepper will look for much of the same, probably a disciplined role of him, say, keeping the ball, but taking the threat of their fullback away from attacking.
I think with Vinicius Junior on that side as well, Bernardo's got the energy, and as good as he is going forward, he works his absolute socks off, and he's got that defensive side to his game right. So that's probably a bit like the game against Bayern with Alphonso Davies. I'm pretty sure he was put there to stop the threat going that way.
Yeah.
But then to pick up the little pockets, because fullbacks don't want to come inside.
He seems to always play the big games as well. I think that's the trust of Pep, is that you do need someone that's like that in your team to be able to do the bits that probably don't people see that often, but to have someone like that in your team as a teammate is like, okay, we know we're up for it kind of thing.
I'd love 10 appearances in the Champions League this season, so yeah, absolutely. Right, we're going to go over to our fans now on our React To wall. Tom, you're listening to the guys here talk about Silva and about Rodri. Paul said Rodri is the most important man in the team. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, there's a number of massively important players that City have got, but I've always felt with Rodri, when Rodri's on it, City tend to be on it. Whereas when Rodri's not quite playing to his top standards, which is rare, City tend to struggle. And yeah, it was great that he was afforded a rest against Leeds at the weekend, which is huge coming into this. And yeah, if he turns up tonight, I fancy City to do quite well.
And Sarah, we were talking about Bernardo Silva, and Steph was saying that he plays the big games. When you see him, you know it's a big, big game. And he's a big game player, isn't he? Always steps up on these occasions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always feel like he kind of stepped into David Silva's shoes. Is that fair to say? And when you see him live, it's just such a great thing. But coming back to what you guys are saying about the player that makes a difference, I'm really happy again to see Haaland starting. I think I say this every time, but I'm a big Haaland fan. And I feel like he could also really make the difference, because I feel like he is very hungry for goals. Of course, like, he keeps scoring and he's not going to stop scoring. And I feel like this could be the perfect stage for him, I hope, tonight.
Oh, yes, we all, yeah, I think the Champions League stage was made for him, hopefully, yes. Forat, we've been talking about the midfield, and it seems unfair that we've not mentioned İlkay Gündoğan yet. Of course, absolutely stepped up in that Leeds game. 2 goals. How important do you think he's going to be to the side tonight?
Exactly. So, İlkay is such an important player, and I think he is being forgotten about a lot, because he's such a key player for us. Like, he's already done a lot of miracles for City, especially the goals at Aston Villa, and last time also 2 goals, got us a win, 3 points, important. And yeah, so he is just the player that can play everywhere, right? Well, like he can play next to De Bruyne. He can play as a playmaker. A few seasons ago, he played as a false 9. He scored a lot of goals. He was one of the top scorers of our team. And then last game, I mean, he was playing instead of Rodri. So he's just a versatile player, and he does really a lot of stuff. And I just appreciate having him, and I hope he extends.
Oh, yes, Forat. Yes, I think we're all, yes, agreeing there. Absolutely. Paul, Forat mentioned there as well, Kevin De Bruyne. We are extremely blessed in our midfield. Do you think the midfield is going to be a particularly interesting battle between the 2 teams tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Real Madrid have got possibly one of the best midfields in world and club football. That's widely acknowledged. And just like Rodri was saying in his press conference, we give a lot of respect to Real Madrid, the kings of this competition. I think that's the right attitude to go into it with. And at the same time, we've got weapons, and some of our biggest weapons are in that midfield area, with a player like De Bruyne, who can pick out a killer pass from anywhere, who can burst past people with his pace, and who's got that power of running with the ball, and who can strike it from anywhere with both feet.
Thank you. Thanks so much to our fans there around the world on our React to All. We'll come back to you a little bit later as well. And just a reminder as well, you are very welcome to get involved with the show. There's our WhatsApp number now on the screen. Feel free to send in your thoughts, your questions, ask our legends here anything that you would like to about themselves, about the game. The number is there for you to use, and I will try and get through as many of your points and your questions a little bit later on. Also, again, a reminder, download the City app so that you can get the commentary for tonight's game from Alistair Mann, the best commentary that you can get around. Now, FG and Nedum are hanging around pitchside at the Bernabeu, and they've managed to grab Spanish football expert Guillem Balaguer, and they're going to give us the Madrid team news.
Yes, thank you, Nat. It is now time for me to bring you the Real Madrid team to face Manchester City tonight. Let's start with the goalkeeper. It is Courtois in net. We have Carvajal at right back, and a centre-half pairing of Rudiger and Alaba. The left back is Camavinga. In midfield, we have Toni Kroos, Luka Modric and Valverde, Rodrigo as the right winger, Benzema up front and Vinicius Jr. It is with great pleasure to say I am joined pitchside by the absolutely fresh member, Guillem Balaguer. Welcome pitchside, and of course our very own Nedum Anua. We've seen the Real Madrid starting 11. It seems like it's business as usual and the expected lineup.
I heard your tone. Correct me if I'm wrong, it went like Benzema.
Yeah, he was
Vinicius,
very nervous. He said
Rodrigo.
Ballon d'Or Benzema is what he said, yeah.
And I'm not surprised that you are not scared, but respectful of a team that you don't know where it's going to come at you. It was only 2 minutes that last season Real Madrid took the game to them. It was only 2 fatal minutes. The question mark is, have Manchester City got the ability to respond to whatever happens in the pitch and not be affected by it as much as they were last season? But the relatively bad news for City is that this is a better Real Madrid, it seems to me, with more layers, with Rodrigo, who can be Benzema, but can be Vinicius, but also has got a great relationship with scoring. I think he's got a goal every 2 games in the Champions League. So, no Casemiro, but Kroos is doing well in the holding midfield role, and Valverde adds energy, and Camavinga does a lot in his wing. So,
yeah. Do you feel this is a better Man City team compared to last season?
No doubt. Even though people would say, yeah, but they don't keep possession so much. They don't do so many combinations in the last third. They played a bit more direct. So what? They still going to do 3 things, I think, on this game. 1, control the game via possession. They will want to have as much of the ball as they can here. 2, avoid the counter-attacks of Real Madrid, because that really is the main danger. And 3, by the way, this is new, just find Haaland. So those 3 things happen, and both games could be City's. But I don't think they're going to destroy Real Madrid, do you?
Well, let's talk about their defence. Eder Militao suspended, which means it's the partnership of Rudiger and Alaba. I mean, it could be a worse centre-half to bring in than Alaba. Is he someone that you'd be worried about in a Real Madrid shirt?
Alaba would have played with Militao, so it's more Rudiger the one coming in. And the thing with that is he's a little bit too rushed sometimes. He doesn't bring the ball from the back as easily, so you'll have to have more of Kroos deeper, more of Modric deeper, so a little bit of movement in that direction. But to be honest, Militao has been so poor in the last 2 weeks. The mistakes that he's made. Having said that, it wasn't a Champions League game, wasn't it? Was it? So he will start in the next leg. Still a solid team, I think. Solid enough, I suppose.
I would like to know, obviously Real Madrid, they've got every right to be confident. When you see the trophies, the 14 European Cups, it's very, very impressive. But does the fan base and the sentiment around Madrid change a little bit because the second leg's in Manchester? Or is it just the same because it's them?
It's a good point. If a miracle has to be produced, it's easier to produce it here than produce it away. There's no doubt about that. It's interesting what Ancelotti has said. He would like to take some advantage back to Manchester. He didn't mean result or goals. He meant the impression that we can beat them. Even if that's enough. Even if they lose here, if you come out thinking it wasn't fair, Real Madrid, we can actually beat them. That's a good way to go to an away side. But Real Madrid, if they have something, is that mental strength that brings the trophies and the titles when you least expect it. It's been so often that you think, but they weren't better, but they won. That could happen as well.
Now, you did actually write a fantastic Erling Haaland article, which is in the BBC, and he's all over the newspapers in Spain. Talk to me about the sensation that is Erling Haaland and how the Spanish media have reacted to him as well.
They just went like, what's this? It's new, the power. You'd think that Messi and Ronaldo are taking goal scoring to a complete new dimension that humans couldn't reach. Well, we have one that can do that, and 2 if you can, Mbappe possibly as well at his best form. But what has been fascinating and is the thick of the article is how they expected one player and they expected to do something with that particular player, which is like, we're not going to change a lot, and he will have to just finish things over, and then realizing that there is one less pass and one less passer. So how do you actually still control games with having a player that doesn't get involved so much? You get him involved a little bit more, but you also play to his strengths. To some point, some of the coaching staff told me that they've told Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, if he hasn't touched the ball, and sometimes he doesn't a lot, just send the ball to him and let him fight with the centre-backs. And once he's done that, it's like, back away, because sometimes he loses concentration because he's not involved. So balancing all that is what we're seeing. And to be honest, yes, in the Premier League, it's been more goals from Manchester City this season, but you've conceded about 10 more. So it's only been in the last 2 months that you feel that the balance has been right, which is great timing for the Champions League.
Now, Pep Guardiola is obviously a good friend of yours. You know him very, very well. After almost the perfect game last year when we were here, do you think he's going to alter the way that he'll approach the game and try and learn lessons from that, or is he going to stay similar? Because I mean, it was 170 good minutes, 117 good minutes, and then a moment of madness.
You were superior to Real Madrid. They will tell you the same, Real Madrid, but you cannot. Well, the game is on. You still have to be concentrated. That would be the difference. Can they mentally be prepared for whatever happens? But in terms of preparing, both teams have been preparing for 2 weeks this game, haven't they? John Stones coming in and adding himself to Rodri in the midfield. Some of the movements that have to do with Haaland and how he relates to Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. That has to do what he's going to find here. So I don't think that it's going to be any kind of massive surprise. He always likes to find something that kind of takes people aback a little bit. But the team is there, and you were this close. You only need to get
you keep
this.
talking about it's too close. And in regards to this now, in this moment, who do you think has the advantage? It's not to say which way you think it's going to go, but who do you think has the advantage before a ball is kicked?
Theoretically, on paper, and I bet you've been saying this as well, City have got more layers. Yeah, we agree that they can attack, they can dominate. They now, defend really well in your own box. Like, it's almost impossible to score against you. So there's all that. You think better team. But you always have to say this with Real Madrid, but it's Real Madrid on the other side. So it's the kind of game where, because they're all so good and the managers are so good and so much quality, that the game could go that way and that way and that way and that way. So whatever we're saying here doesn't really matter, does it?
You've been absolutely exceptional. That was brilliant insight. Thank you for joining us on Matchday Live. Let's head back to the studio.
Thanks so much to FG, to Nedum and to Guillaume Balaguer there for joining us with that Real Madrid team news. Steph, one of the stats that stood out for me with Real Madrid this show. They've 3 consecutive clean sheets. They haven't conceded a goal in 346 minutes since Mohamed Salah scored against them in the round of 16. Looking at that defence today, we know that Militao is suspended. We know that Camavinga comes in and perhaps playing not his natural left-back position. Is that a defence tonight, do you think, that we can break down? Can we end that clean sheet stat?
Yeah, I think so. I think probably people look at Real Madrid and think more about the goals that they score rather than the clean sheets that they keep. But I think that's what successful teams do. They find a way to win, whether that's with clean sheets or not. And I think maybe that change of relationships and partnerships for Real Madrid in the back four is going to be, it might take a while to get used to. And I think for me, even if you asked us before the game if they played the strongest back four, I think with our front three in midfield, I think we can really take the game to their back four and cause them some real big problems.
Yeah, there means some sensational attacking talent on that pitch tonight from both teams, Paul. So both defences are going to have to be unbelievably sharp tonight, because when you look at that Real Madrid attacking line, I mean, wow.
It's sensational. You know, Rodrigo, we know, not just last season, but this season scores a lot of goals from wide areas. Vinicius Junior is up there with one of the best young talents in the world. Super, super quick. And Benzema is just an absolute legend. The amount of goals he scored, the amount of times he's been at the club, the amount of times he's been at the top level and keeps producing. But I look at our back four now, and it's a back four, back three, what is it? There's one moving into midfield that looks as if they want to defend first and foremost now. You know, maybe over previous seasons the criticism has been that they want to play out for the back too much. We've kept too high a line, wanting to step in and everything else, but I think Ruben Diaz in there, he spreads that confidence about wanting to defend first and foremost. With it, I said earlier, I'm delighted Kyle's playing, because Vinicius Junior got nothing out of him in that game at the Bernabeu last year, and Kyle was only 50-60% fit. And Vinicius Junior came out afterwards and said it was the toughest game he's ever had, so that'll be at the back of his head as well. And then on the other side, I look at Danny Carvajal, and I don't know if you remember when Jack came on the Bernabeu, he gave him an absolute torrid time last season. You know, Jack was unlucky not to score. Every time he got him booked. He was fouling him, Jack was running past him, and that Jack Grealish now is at least 70% better than what he was that night as well. You know, Jack's a big player for us. And I just look at Camavinga, top player, but he's not a left back. And Carvajal, I look at Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish up against their fullbacks, and I think that's where we could cause them some serious damage.
Keep going, Paul. You're making me feel really, really good there. I'm loving that breakdown. You haven't mentioned, though, we'll come to you, Sean, Modric. Now, it was a few games ago that we were told he was going to be out for the game. He's miraculously recovered from a hamstring injury, came on as a substitute at the weekend, starts tonight, 37 years old, but he's still sensational. What do you think that battle's going to be like in the midfield with him?
I think that's going to be a key area. I think it's an area that we'll win, but Modric just has such quality. He knows how to make these driving runs. He's just popping the ball around. We know his quality. If you press him, and his first touch is immaculate, so he's able to have that touch, move the ball. But if he's got time to run, he will drive in those gaps and spaces. So I think for us, it's going to be interesting, if our fullback goes inside and double up with Rodri, that we sort of make those spaces compact. Because he's world class, and that's where he exposes teams when he drives in and goes that way.
He's sensational, isn't he? He's just 37.
Yeah.
But I just 2 weeks ago they said he'd done his hamstring and he was going to be out for 6 weeks now. A hamstring at any age is hard to come back from, never mind you're 37. Not as if maybe it was cadology from them back then, but I can't see it. So I would maybe the first 20 minutes test him out a little bit.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, yes, I like that.
Well, in the nicest possible way, of course.
In a Paul Dickoff nice way,
Yeah.
of course. Yes, we know what that means. We'll get our fans back on now from around the world. Tom, you've seen the Real Madrid team. What's the one name that your eye was drawn to that gives you the most fear there?
I think naturally it's Benzema. You look at what he did at the Etihad last season, and yes, he's not been quite as prolific this season as he was last year, but he's a fantastic player, isn't he? And it was, for me, Benzema who kept Real Madrid in that tie when City went 2 goals up early at the Etihad in that first leg, and Benzema kind of dragged them through that first leg, and then obviously we know what happened with Rodrigo in the second leg, but he's a goal scorer. He knows how to win the Champions League. He knows how to score goals on these big nights. So yeah, he's a fantastic footballer, and he's one that certainly I'll be wary of going into the game tonight.
And Sarah, we know that you love Erling Haaland and that you think this will be the night for him. Erling Haaland, Benzema, what do you think? Who's going to come out on top tonight?
I'm actually more worried about Vinicius Jr. Last season I was in the home leg against Real. Incredible game, by the way. Best game I've been to. Incredible atmosphere, and so much skill. But I'll admit, I came into it thinking, oh, Benzema, he's going to be a problem. But I'm more worried about Vinicius Jr. and I'm happy to see Walker out there, for sure. But
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely.
I hope, in the battle, I hope Haaland is going to come out top.
Yes, of course. I think, seeing Kyle Walker playing makes us all feel a bit more settled with Vinicius Jr. because they have so many incredible players. For you, is there anyone different? I mean, obviously, we know what Rodrigo did to us last season as well.
Yeah, Rodrigo is an exceptional player. Like he has this, I would say, Real Madrid DNA. He's there just in the right moment to score the right goal to get you to the next stage. And I would say in this goal he got a bit lucky because it was deflected from, I think, Laporte's head or someone. But it's Real Madrid. They kept trying until it works. But for me, the key player that is going to be Modric. And when Modric is in a good game, like Modric is up there, he's a Ballon d'Or winner. It's not by a chance, And for me, he is a top midfielder, just like Kevin De Bruyne. I still prefer Kevin, but Modric is an amazing player, and we need to get him in the cage in the midfield, and we got the players to do that.
Absolutely. Paul, we're talking about how incredible Real Madrid's players are, but also remembering, that they are quite off the pace, behind Barcelona significantly in the league. They're not having the standard of season as well. Obviously, they won the Copa del Rey at the weekend, but despite the world-class players, are you still feeling confident this is a team we can beat? Oh, I think you're on mute, Paul.
It seems like a bit of a standard thing for Real Madrid to, even when they are having an off-season in La Liga, or if they don't start well in the season, to always come and bring their best football in the Champions League. So I don't have any doubt that they're going to be at their top level today. One thing that I saw just looking at the team was with Rudiger having come in, whether he might fancy a repeat of the Champions League final for Chelsea and try and rearrange somebody's face.
Thank you very much.
I hope
yes,
not.
I think we know is what to you refer, Paul. Thank you to our fans. I'll come back to you very, very shortly there. So FG and Nedum have been out and about in Madrid for the last few days now. They only went and bumped into Big Steve. So FG decided to give Big Steve and Nedum a quiz.
Hello and welcome to Madrid. As you can see, I am joined by the two encyclopedias of football, Nedum and Big Steve. Here we are in the square, and you know what we're going to do? Something a little bit different, because the producers of Matchday Live have come up with a quiz. Now, it's you two against each other, Nedum against Steve, but before we start, I need a buzzer sound from each and every one of you, and I need it to be a creative buzzer sound. Steve, give me your buzzer sound.
City.
I like it. And Nedum, that was passion.
I was just going to say Vamos since we're in Spain, but sure.
Okay, so we're going with City and Vamos. All right, okay. How many Champions Leagues have Madrid won?
Vamos.
City.
I'm going to give that to Nedum.
Are we talking European Cups as well? Because if so, it's 14.
The answer is 14. Congratulations. That's 1-0 to Mr. Nedum, making it look easy. Now, this is one. I think I know who's going to know this one. How do you say Spain in Spanish?
Vamos.
Nedum.
España.
Thank you. Nedum actually speaks fluent Spanish.
This guy's got like a degree or something on here, a PhD or something. You know what I mean? I'm from Moston.
I've got one for you, Steve. Don't worry. Okay. Real Madrid have the most appearances in Champions League history, but how many? Closest wins.
City.
Let's go.
30.
It says 42 on here, but
Yeah, because it's been like 42.
Yeah, 42 attempts at trying to win a European Cup.
Yeah.
Smashed it. Well done,
Yeah,
mate.
well done, man.
Well done, Steve. You actually didn't answer that. That was poor from you. Right, question number 4. What is the version of Spanish spoken by people here in Madrid?
City.
Let's go.
Catalan.
No, Barca.
I'll accept the answer just so it's level, just so Nedum loses. The answer is Castellan. Okay, number 5.
Say Castellano or Castellan.
The answer is
Anyway,
Castellan.
let's move on.
Right, what is the 3-letter code for the busiest airport in Spain? Honestly, I'm not going to lie, it's the most self-explanatory thing ever.
City.
Let's go.
MDR.
It's incorrect. Sorry, Steve. Nedum, you've got 10 seconds.
MAD.
It is MAD. Can you name 3 players who've won 5 UCL titles solely with Madrid?
Carvajal.
Okay, correct.
Benzema.
Also correct.
And the last one would be... Oh, it's closest. Was he there last season? Modric.
Absolutely spot on. You can tell
Brilliant,
that's unbelievable. 4 English clubs have won at the Bernabeu. Who are they?
Vamos.
Let's go, Nedum.
Liverpool.
Correct.
City.
Yes.
Man United.
Incorrect. You can steal this. 2 more London clubs.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Correct. Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Oh, correct. Spot on. Well done, Big
So
Steve.
50 each, 50%, yeah?
We'll just say you can have a half a point each. Haaland, for the last question, is on 12 goals this season in the Champions League. There's only one player who has matched that, who's played for a Premier League team.
Vamos. Oh, on you go.
Ooh.
Ronaldo.
Incorrect.
Hala.
Incorrect. Well, he has played for Madrid, and he's a striker.
And you said Ronaldo already.
He's got good hair.
He's got good hair.
Yeah.
What?
He's got good hair. He's Dutch. Anything?
Van Nistelrooy.
Correct, Big Steve. Last one wins, so Big Steve, you've won the quiz. Congratulations, my friend. Can we have a handshake between you both? Well done, Nedum.
He deserves it, to be fair.
Top class, mate. Top class.
As you can see,
This is corruption. This is what corruption looks like.
We're having a lot of fun here
Oh,
in
no, it's
Madrid.
fine. Favourites is cool. I'll go. Fine.
Let's go back to the studio from Big Steve, the winner today, and our good friend Nedum.
Go on, Big Steve, with the absolute line of the show there, that Nedum's got a degree and he's just from Moston. Well, Moston wins, Big Steve. If you had to choose your own noise for your buzzer, Sean, what do you think you would shout? Big Steve shouts City.
Oh, you got me there. You've got me there.
We usually struggle, Sean.
Yeah, I know. You've got me there.
How about yeah, baby?
That is me, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, baby. You got it.
Right, we talked a lot about Real Madrid's attack, about how good they are in the track. Well, it's time to refocus our minds about how good we are in defence. So, today's defence, obviously you can see the team along the bottom: Walker, Diaz, Akanji and Stones. Although, Paul, it does make me laugh now. A lot of the time when you look on the BBC website or another website at the team formation, it just has Stones in midfield now.
Yeah. I think he'll go into there at time today as well. Just got to be wary that Kyle doesn't get sucked in too far into the middle to cover for centre-half. Vinicius Junior and Camavinga on that side, but I don't see any reason why John Stones won't go in there. I think with them, from Modric, Kroos, Valverde, he'll want to outnumber them in the middle of the park. And that's one of the reasons why he does it. You know, we've got our 3 in there. John Stones goes in, makes a 4, gives us the 4v3 in there, dominate possession, and then we go and play from there.
I'm intrigued because I keep thinking, you know, will he have a reserve game in terms of saying to Walker not to sort of bump forward and sort of just do that job defensively. But every time when you think of Pep comes up with things that you think, I never thought of that. But that is is an absolute brilliant move. I tend to think he'll have somewhat of a cautious one in terms of the approach, steady into the game, and then look to keep the ball in terms of when I think of the players that we've got on the field. You know, Bernardo Silva can keep the ball all day. Jack Grealish, get fouls, keep the ball. Also create threats with both of them. And with us keeping the ball, we also have that threat in Haaland being able to go in behind. So I think that will be part of his plan is can we contain them, but also when we've got it, keep it, and then look to have those good attacks as well. Be interesting.
Felt really disappointed for Nathan Ake the weekend against Steph. Obviously just come back from an injury, hasn't travelled with the squad today, and he's been such an integral part of that defence. But I guess we've been blessed that we do have so many players, other players that can slot straight back in. So do you have any worry there about the fact that Nathan isn't playing?
No, I think obviously it's a shame for Nathan because of his season that he's had, and I think none of us have probably predicted how well he's done at left back. Obviously primarily as a centre half, but I think that just shows how intelligent he is and how physical he is, and especially against some of the best wingers this season. I think he's performed really, really well, and in the Champions League. But I think we've seen against Arsenal previously at home, Akanji slotting in there at left back and did really, really well against Saka. So I think in terms of confidence, I think we are feeling a little bit more confident because these players have got huge experience, but are really, really good players. And I think that's what the squad is about, is just utilising them. And Akanji's a great defender, so my confidence is with him and the rest of the boys.
And word on Ruben Diaz as well, Sean, because since he's come back from injury, he seems to have been a key part of this phenomenal run that we've gone on. Champions League stats for you this season: he's played 9 games, he's made 10 tackles, 95.5% passing accuracy. He has ridiculous stats across the place. Distance covered, his top speed. He's phenomenal, but so key in this period where we've been on this winning run.
Yes, he is, and I mean his leadership skills are second to none. It just goes throughout the team. You know, his ability to encourage teammates when they make a tackle, or encouraging them in terms of staying tucked in if they have to see a period through, putting his body on the line as we see there. You know, again, he stands up in possession. You talked about his stats in possession. Brilliant with the ball, but also without the ball, he puts his body on the line. Just quality, but I really like his leadership. He makes sure the team. I feel as though I'm also speaking about somebody sat on the coach. Leadership skills in terms of keeping players in place and making sure they're always focused throughout, encouraging them when they do good things. But he's an absolute phenomenal player, and he's the reason why. When we play well defensively, he's making sure that players are switched on when we're attacking. Go around 10 more yards, and he's pushing up and squeezing in. So, yeah, absolute brilliant player.
Thinking about the game last year, Steph, obviously we know what happened. We know that it took a couple of minutes. No pinpointing, no blame on anybody. But I imagine the defenders in particular from that game have probably relived the moments, the 2 minutes, a million times in the last year. What will players like Ruben Diaz have taken from playing in that game coming back now? What do you think he'll have learned mentally and about resilience and about himself?
I think you can see the players are resilient already in terms of how they've approached the competition this year, and I think they'll be going into the Bernabeu today full of confidence. And I think for me, when you're playing against the best players, and Real Madrid have got some great players, I think we speak about Benzema, and he may not have had the best season this season, but you can't switch off from them players because sometimes you think that they're not in the game, but within a second it can really change. So I think for me, it is probably controlling the transitions, and when they're in and around the box, you're just fighting for your life and you're trying to get people up to the ball. But for Ruben, I think Sean kind of touched on it. I think vocally and his communication style is really impressive, and I think when you have someone that's like that, as a player, you keep switched on, your concentration levels are that little bit higher, and when it comes towards the end of games, when you're a little bit fatigued, that's so important. So I think it is important that they'll probably learn from that. And look, with experience, you do learn quite a lot. And sometimes you have to learn the hard way, which it wasn't great. But I think that will probably give us more confidence going in this game.
Yeah, I agree, because we've been there and done that. It does feel like more confidence. We've got the fans back on our React to wall. Paul, we're just talking about Ruben Diaz, a big love-in for Ruben Diaz in the studio. It just feels like he's just been a real key part of this incredible run that we've been on. How big a fan are you of Ruben Diaz?
Yeah, absolutely massive fan. Father Ruben, we love him. Just a massive presence in the defence. Giving everybody instructions, like celebrating blocks with his fellow defenders. He's absolutely vital for us. And he just lets everybody know that everybody has a job to do for the defence. It's not just the back four, back three. Thinking of, stopping breaks, someone like Grealish herring back 50 yards to help back in the fullback position, Bernardo Silva the same. So just like we do every week, we all have to defend as a team, and Ruben is the one who's really just holding all of that together.
Sarah, we know that you're part of the Berlin supporters group. I want to have a word with you about Manuel Akanji. Obviously, we signed him from Dortmund, from Germany. Did you, when we signed him, did you know a little bit about him, or has he surprised you in how well he's done this season?
I have to be honest, I didn't actually know him before. I moved to Berlin quite recently. Actually, one of the first things I did when I moved to Berlin was go to that game in Dortmund, and then found this fan club. So that was pretty much my first thing living in Germany, funnily. So I didn't really know Akanji before. And yeah, obviously he's like, his skills and like his cleverness have really impressed me, of course. But like, especially as you say, like how fast he's integrated into the team. Like sometimes you feel like players need like a few seasons to come to their best, maybe. And I mean, yeah, it's just amazing how quick he's slotted in. Yeah. So yeah, good signing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll be back to you all a little bit later on. Now, FG and Nedum are out in Madrid, and do you know what? They've got themselves a pretty decent job. I mean, we had a good time last year, Paul, but I feel like FG's pitched this himself, Sean.
You reckon?
Yeah, basically, he said, let's go and eat some food and talk about Nedum. Seriously, how did this get past everybody? This is FG and Nedum eating tapas, talking about Nedum.
Now, of course, because we're in Madrid, we have to try some tapas. How about we sit down and go through the memories that you've got in a City shirt, Nedum?
Absolutely. Vamos.
Let's do it. All right, so here we are. What a lovely setting. Dish number one, we have some tuna. Nedum. Oh, let's get that on our plate and let's give that a try.
Let's get after it, yeah.
Let's talk then.
Okay, go
about early days. Let's start.
How early are we talking about? From the start?
You joined Man City at what age?
10.
10 years old. And you were a striker.
I've actually scouted as a defender, but then I went on trial. They liked me, and my first game I played up front, and it was at the Armitage Centre. Played against Blackpool and scored 5 goals.
What was it like then? So growing up, obviously, as a 12-year-old boy, a Man City fan.
For as much as I'm associated with the new stadium, or the newer stadium, I started off going to games at May Road. To be part of it, even today, like I still feel part of it, but back then it was obviously on a smaller scale, but that identity remains, which is why so many people love the club.
Let's talk about the dish. What did you make about the tuna?
Do you know what? It's actually really nice.
It was nice.
It was really, really nice, yeah. I'm not usually the biggest tuna fan, but you know, when you come to Spain, you do what the Spanish do. I'm eating this, and it's delicious.
All right, it's time for dish number 2 with Nedum. We've got some patatas brava, Nedum.
Very nice, very, very nice.
They do. Let's tuck in with these and let's talk about your debut for Man City in the first team.
Okay. Do you remember when it was?
Arsenal at home.
In the League Cup, yeah, League certainly was. And the thing about like starting your career is it tends to come out of nowhere. And even though you're close to it, you're never actually there. But then all of a sudden you're there. And I remember the feel of like trying to get ready for a first team game. It's like, this is different. Arriving in the stadium, being in the dressing room, walking out. And that's not like Arsenal Academy next year. That's like Arsenal. I'll still go to college. So we finished playing on a Wednesday. Then on the Thursday, I've got lessons. Imagine that feeling of walking up in college and like, oh, what were you guys doing yesterday? Well, for me, I was playing at the Etihad, basically.
You had a season under Mark Hughes, and it was one of your best years for City.
It was amazing, because most people say now, when a takeover happens, all the youngsters stuff disappear. For myself and lots of others at City at that time, that was our best season. I got the most opportunity and learned the most as players, because you had better players around you.
incredible time for the club as well. A bit like this dish, let's rate it.
Out of 10?
Out of 10, I'll give it a 10.
Wow. You should never start with a 10, my friend, because then everything's going to be a disappointment.
All right, it's time for our final dish of this afternoon. And of course, we have to try the Padron peppers, mate.
No, we did.
And we also need to talk about Manchester City, where they're at as a football club now. Obviously, you came through the academy, you're a City fan.
I think the fact that there are still players in the academy who are getting into the first team, getting a chance to train with the first team, are, sometimes those things that we don't see, the likes of Shea Charles and the like, we might not see them playing for the first team as such, but they spend a lot of time with them, and they're improving so much as players because they're in that environment. So then, lo and behold, all of a sudden, the opportunity might arise and they might take it. And I think that says a lot about how good they are, because given how good City have been across the last 10 years, especially the last few, they still have a chance, they're still wanted, they're still needed, and still a big part of what this football club is.
I didn't expect to be City in the middle of Spain in the afternoon, having tapas with the one and only Nedum and Riyad, ready for a Champions League semi-final. But thank you very much. The food was lovely, and we'll see you guys soon.
We really sent them to a tapas restaurant and got them rating food. They have the best job in the whole wide world. FG continues to live his best life. Well, I tell you what, when I heard about this, I said, no. We need to actually make them do some work. We need to make them do some homework. So finally, after they'd sat and had their tapas, we got them to study the history books. Because this is not the first time that we've played Real Madrid at their iconic stadium. With a little help from classic football shirts, finally, Nedum and FG have done some proper work.
We've Before is back, and this time we are in the Spanish capital, Madrid.
Real Madrid and Man City are no strangers to one another, and the two teams have provided some classics over the years.
We're going to take a look back at the previous fixtures here at the Santiago Bernabeu with the help of classic football shirts and some people you might recognise.
Our journey began in 1213 when we were the champions of England. We came to Madrid to face Jose Mourinho's side, who were looking for their elusive 10th Champions League title.
Eddie Dzeko, when I was on the Kolarov, stunned the Bernabeu and gave City a 2-1 lead with only 5 minutes to go. And it looked like we may be about to witness a very famous victory.
Towards Eddie Dzeko, what a chance for City, and they've scored in the Bernabeu. What a moment for Manchester City Football Club.
But then came the turnaround. Karim Benzema scored in the 87th minute, and there was enough time for Cristiano Ronaldo to score and give Los Blancos 3 points and send this place wild.
We ended up finishing bottom of the group, and Real Madrid were knocked out in the semi-finals by Jurgen Klopp's Dortmund, and Mourinho ended up leaving Madrid and going to Chelsea.
Fast forward to the 1920 season, and it was our turn to come from behind. Isco put Real Madrid 1-0 up within an hour, and it was looking like one of those nights.
Well, Gabriel Jesus got a vital away goal with 10 minutes remaining to get us back on level terms. And then up stepped our midfield maestro to send the City fans into raptures as we recorded a famous victory at the Santiago Bernabeu.
I think we played a really good game and we fell behind, but we had a good comeback, and obviously we won the return also. So it was important to win these games, and we showed that we could beat Madrid.
A 2-1 win at the Etihad sent Zinedine Zidane's side crashing out, but it was heartbreak for us in the next round. We were knocked out in the quarter-finals by Lyon, who beat us 3-1 in a game which was played behind closed doors because of the COVID pandemic. And finally, it's time for the most heartbreaking of defeats.
Well, it was definitely a difficult one to take.
A result which will be in the memory of supporters from both sides for different reasons.
With a 4-3 aggregate lead from the first leg, we came here last season looking to try and reach our second consecutive Champions League final. And in a tight game, second half strike from Riyad Mahrez looked like it was going to be enough to send us to Paris.
Mahrez has scored at the Bernabeu, and Manchester City are one step closer to the Champions League final.
But we all know what happened next.
Carvajal gets across in, that ball is headed into the net. Real Madrid with the goal that stuns City.
Rodrigo then scored twice in the space of 2 minutes to send the tie to extra time. And that outcome was so unthinkable that even some of the home fans had already left the stadium.
Benzema against Ederson. Ederson goes the wrong way. Benzema has scored. Real Madrid, for the first time in this tie, are out in front.
The biggest learnings are the hardest lessons. If I have to say one thing from that moment, is that we were definitely more prepared than what we were a year ago.
So there we have it, a whistle-stop recap of our previous visits to the Bernabeu.
That should whet the appetite ahead of tonight's game.
Absolutely. Come on, City.
Come on, City.
Come on, City.
Thanks so much to FG and to Nedum. Looking back at some of those games, oh gosh, revenge, Paul. Revenge is all I've got in my head now. Stats again for you on the attack this time. The past 4 Champions League games between Real Madrid and City have featured 17 goals, an average of 4.3 goals per match. We've talked about their attack. We'll have a look at ours now. Could you see there being 4 or more goals in this game?
I can. I'll give you my prediction a little bit later as well. Look, I just think we spoke about their front three, but I look at our front three with Kevin and Gundo in behind them, the big man up top, and as much as I think that when you're a fan and it's your team, you look at the other team and you think, wow, they're great, and you sort of forget how good we are and what they'll be thinking at the same time as well. I think a few of the Madrid players have come out already and said how scared they are of Erling. Mentioned it before, I think Jack's going to be huge for us tonight, getting us up the pitch, winning his fouls, creating chances. And Kevin De Bruyne, it's his time of the season, and he stood up last time we were there to get the penalty, as we've seen there. And with Alaba at centre-half alongside Rudiger, who's not played a lot of games, Camavinga, as I've said, and Carvajal, who's good going forward but not a great defender. I think they're really vulnerable at the back, and I think we've got the players that can get after them, and we can mix it up now. We know that. We love playing football, we love playing between the lines. We've got players that can do it, but if we need to go up to the big man and play from there, we can do it, and that causes teams a lot of problems.
We mix it up with our goal scorers as well. I mean, for all the talk of Erling Haaland, Steph, we've had 11 different goal scorers in the Champions League this season. That's insane. Is that just something that is bred into all players at the club? Everybody can score.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think the way that we play and the amount of chances that we do create, a lot of teams will probably try and stifle Erling Haaland, which is rightly so. But I think that gives opportunities for De Bruyne, Bernardo, Grealish to kind of get themselves on the score sheet. Gundogan at the weekend, I think no matter what, you maybe focus on one player, but with the team that we have and the attack that we have, it's important not to switch off from the other lads as well. So I think it's important. I think the amount of possession that we do have, we do create a lot of chances. So hopefully we can create a lot tonight.
We mentioned Erling Haaland, we mentioned Benzema, obviously Benzema with his Ballon d'Or, Sean. Are we looking at perhaps one of the greatest and the future greatest going to be on the pitch at the same time?
I think we are, and it's going to be really interesting because Benzema, I think, plays like a false nine and probably plays it as best as you'd want a false nine because he never stays up around his centre halves. He's always around the midfield, having touches, and then he just seems to arrive at that right time when they're sliding balls into the box. So he's sort of he's a master at playing that role. Erling Haaland is an out-and-out striker, and any defence that's playing against him just knows they're in for a right game because he doesn't need 5 and 6 opportunities. He has 2. You know that he's definitely scoring 1, and the form that he's in and that he's in, you can see him scoring 2 if he has 2 chances. So I think from both ends, it makes for really interesting. But Erling Haaland, I think, is the difference. I think he's a beast. I'm thinking about him playing against Rudiger and Alaba. I think the two of them, the experienced players, but I just think his pace, his hunger, his desire to want to get on the end of balls, in and around the box. Exciting. Exciting.
I think that's going to be key, though. I think if Erling tries to get into a fight with Rudiger, that's what Rudiger wants.
Yeah.
That's his game. He's a nasty centre-half. He wants centre-forwards to go up against him. He wants to try and bully them. But whereas Alaba's just 6 foot, a left-back or a central midfielder, not really. That's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. But I think we'll probably see Erling playing on that side more than anything else. And how many times have we seen Jack cutting in and whipping that ball to the far post? I think that'll be something we'll be looking to do a lot tonight.
Yeah, we've got our fans back in. Tom, we have some incredible excitement. We were just hearing there about the different attacking options that City have. We were speaking about Benzema as well, obviously. Best player in the world. He's the Ballon d'Or holder. I'm guessing, though, you would not swap anyone for Erling Haaland right now.
No, certainly not. There's not a player in the world that you'd rather have than Erling Haaland right now. And what Haaland offers is maybe what we lacked last season is he's just got that killer instinct in front of goal. And I think back to that game at the Etihad last year, and Foden and Mahrez both missed pretty big chances to put us 3-0 up on the night. And you think if a chance even half as good as that falls to Erling Haaland tonight, you'd expect him to at the back of the net. And he had an off game by his standards against Leeds on Saturday. But we saw what happened when he had an off game in the Community Shield. He went on and broke every record under the sun in the Premier League. So he'll have the bit between his teeth tonight. He'll be obviously the links with Real Madrid as well in the past. Obviously linked with them before he moved to Manchester City. So he's going to want to go over there and really show what he's made of. And he loves the Champions League. He loves his club. And I really expect him to go well tonight.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time talking about Erling Haaland, and rightly so, because he's absolutely magical. But looking at the other players that are going to be up there and supporting him tonight, we say Jack Grealish has had a great season. We've mentioned Bernardo Silva, we mentioned Kevin De Bruyne. I imagine you are all out confident in this attack tonight.
Yes, I'm really confident in our attack at any point in any year. To be honest, we're speaking about the players. I love all the players, and not most of them, all of them even are better every year and every season. Bernardo's just always better. Jack Grealish, I think Paul said 70%. For me, it's 700% than last season. Kevin De Bruyne, as always, people were at the start of the season saying it's not his best season. I mean, look at it now. He's just always on top. Gundogan always drops as well in the attack. So everyone is basically just on the top. I want just to give credit to Pep Guardiola, because let's not forget last time, okay, we lost, we went out, we were knocked out, but we scored a lot of goals. The problem was that we conceded a lot of goals. So Pep Guardiola always find a way to get our players to the goal, and then they have to score. And I think this time won't be different. We'll score a lot of goals. Let's hope we will not receive as many.
Paul, if we do have to make any changes towards the end of the game, I mean, the attacking talent on the bench as well is insane. I mean, Julian Alvarez, he's played in 9 Champions League games this season. He's had 13 chances. He's had 2 goals. I mean, to know that we have Julian Alvarez to come off the bench, should we need to make any changes, that feels good as well.
Of course it does, and that's what sets this team apart from everybody else, is the strength and depth that we've got. And Julian can probably, you see the quality he's got here, find himself a little bit unlucky that he's not starting tonight, because he's been absolutely fantastic. And then it's great to see Phil last couple of games back in the pitch, getting his goal at the weekend. So this run in towards the end of the season is going to be great. But we've got quality all throughout the squad. But since he came here, you probably expect him to have a little dip after the World Cup with the euphoria of winning it and everything else, but he's just got better every time he's played, and he can play as the 10 off of Haaland, he can play wide, he can play out and out as a 9, and it doesn't affect his performance at all. His levels are top.
Steph, he could win the Champions League and the World Cup in the same season. That is unheard. I don't even know how, at that point, what do you do after that? How do you top that? That must be career peak.
Crazy season if that happens for him. And I think that just kind of shows what kind of boy he is. And I think we speak about his attacking talents and what he's done over the last few games for City. But I think the last Champions League game, Pep brought him on, and it kind of allowed us to have a little bit more energy while we were pressing. I think he took De Bruyne off, and we were all thinking, why are you taking Kev off? Why are you taking him off? But I think it proved to be the right decision, because he was able to get in and around the midfield and to really pose a threat, and that's where we win the ball higher up. But I think, like what Paul said, I think to have him on the bench, it's a great threat for us to bring on, and not just him, but Foden and Mahrez. They would probably start in any other team, and that's just the scary thing about the squad, is that if someone isn't particularly doing as well, you've got players like that can come on and do the job.
What I like about Alvarez is he's such a selfless player. He's prepared to just, run and run. We know his quality. We saw his quality and what he can deliver as a striker in terms of scoring outside the box or inside the box. But he's prepared to do the hard yards and graft for his team, a bit like my mate there. Graft and being able to chase people down out of possession, because it's going to be a key part of the game. You're talking about Real Madrid, another world-class team, when they're in possession. And again, if you got someone like him that could come on, could change the game out of possession as well as in possession.
Yeah, and the same for Mahrez. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mahrez, particularly in the Champions League. He's this season become the African player with the most assists in Premier League history. To have him on the bench as well, Sean, should we need a change, is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, Mahrez, again, this is one of our qualities, the strength and depth that we have. Mahrez, again, when he's in and around, that final third, his quality in those areas is absolutely brilliant. We see him there, his through the centre, he happens to be through the centre, but he has the calmness to be able to just push that in the corner. But when he's out wide, we know what he can deliver in terms of his crosses. So, and those are the great thing as 8 and 10s that make those runs into the box. They know that it's quality coming in, and they could, make those runs. You got Gundogan who can make that run in behind the centre half, knowing that if they've got someone like him coming on, that can come on, the quality that he produces as well.
I'm so excited now. I can't wait to hear all your predictions as well, especially yours a bit later on as well. Paul, talking all there about City's attack, talking about obviously phenomenal striker in Erling Haaland. Well, from one phenomenal striker to another phenomenal striker, because FG and Nedum have found Michael Owen pitchside at the Bernabeu.
Yes, thank you, Nat. Welcome to Matchday Live, to a very, very special guest. It is with great pleasure to say we are joined by none other than Michael Owen. Michael, you have represented Real Madrid. Let me get some personal experiences from you of playing in this stadium and representing Real Madrid.
Well, it's an incredible place, as you can see. It hasn't changed much internally, but of course we know that Madrid has spent an absolute fortune on improving the stadium. But in terms of the size, it's exactly the same as it was. I've been here a couple of times since, but yeah, I mean, great memories. I was going to say back in the day, but still, to this day, if Real Madrid come calling, it's one of the biggest privileges in world football.
Do you know, you say that about when Real Madrid come calling, but so does that mean it was an easy decision to come over here, or was it something which you sort of weighed up at the time? Yeah,
I did weigh it up, to be honest. I never had any intention of leaving Liverpool at the time, but I think back in those days, sort of Real Madrid, Barcelona, they're the type of teams that you just think, I'll never get this opportunity again. All the great players at the time, it was the Galactico era, so, playing in this stadium with that white kit, with Zidane and Figo and Becks and Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo and Raul and all those, it was just, how can you say no? I'll regret it if I say no. So, yeah, I was definitely not actively looking for a move, but when they came in, I just thought, I've got to try that.
In relation to that history, they've obviously won a lot recently. When you were there, was the expectation still the same, or do you think it's changed over the years in regards to this competition?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much stayed the same. I mean, you go back in history and they've always been the most successful, really, club in Europe. Back in the day when they won, what was it, about 3, 4, 5 on the spin, wasn't it? Which sort of set them, a little bit different to the rest of the clubs. But then in recent years, they've almost got that stranglehold on the tournament again. And you know what? I'd argue that even in recent years, even though they've won it or dominated the competition, they've not necessarily, in my opinion, been the best team. Manchester City battered them for 170 minutes out of 180 last year. I mean, even in the final, Liverpool, Courtois was the man of the match. The game before that, Chelsea, you could really argue the case that Chelsea should have knocked them out. So, but they've just got this magical thing, this know-how, this history, this badge that weighs heavy on the opposition a lot of the time. And I think, for a team like Manchester City, obviously not having won the tournament, they've got to get past that. They've got to get past the scars of last season, probably. But inside, they'll be thinking, you know what? We were the better team last season. Let's do it again, and we'll get the rub of the green this time.
We have to ask you, of course, as a striker yourself, about our striker, our number 9, Erling Haaland, who's been absolutely incredible. How do you think he's going to be preparing for a game? He will know about last year. He wasn't obviously here at that point last year. Will he go into the game thinking, I can be the difference and I can be the one that gets us over the line in this tie?
I think he will. I mean, he's got that mindset, hasn't he? I think Manchester City fans will be hoping that he is the difference between last year and this year. He has, I guess, even though, he's got lots of other jobs scoring in the Premier League, scoring in every competition. Lots of people do like to pin this competition and on him and say this is the reason that Manchester City bought him, to go that extra step, because they've had so many attempts in the past when everybody's probably perceived them as the best team in Europe, or at least in the the top three, and they've never quite done it. But it does take a little bit of time, and obviously getting Haaland now is there's almost no excuses. Every bit of the pitch, you just think, it's very, very strong.
Before we head back to the studio, Michael, let's get a quick score prediction from you.
Well, I think it's quite hard to predict tonight. I do fancy Manchester City to go through over the two legs. I mean, I could easily see City winning. I mean, I'll go for 2-1 to City tonight. But I don't think they'd be too disappointed with a 1-1 draw or something like that, taking them back to Manchester. But I do fancy City across the two legs.
Well, we hope you're right. Thank you for joining us on Matchday Live. It's been a pleasure to have you. You're more than welcome whenever you want. Thank you, Nedum, as always. Let's go back to the studio.
Thanks to FG and Nedum, of course, former Real Madrid player Michael Owen. He's predicting a 2-1 victory for City this evening. Well, we have 10 minutes until kickoff. It is the Champions League semi-final. My stomach is really starting to jump with nerves now. We're going to get the final thoughts of our guests now before we ask everybody for a score prediction. So, Steph, less than 10 minutes to go. How are you feeling? What sort of game are you expecting?
I'm excited, actually. I think, obviously, I was a little bit nervous today when all the girls are chatting about it and saying who's going to win. But no, I think when you get to these stages of the Champions League, it's important that you just give it absolutely everything. And City have got no reason to kind of doubt themselves. They play unbelievable football. And I think for me, I know we'll do predictions in a bit, but I can't see anything going past City at the moment.
Right, I'm going to go to our fans and get their predictions first. We're going to build up to Paul Dickoff's. Right, we're going to come round the fan wall and ask everybody for their predictions. So, Tom, you are the first person. Well, actually, Michael Brown's predicted, Michael Owen's predicted a 2-1 victory already. So, Tom, what are you going for?
3-0 Manchester City.
Stop it. Really?
3-0 Manchester City. Yeah, I really think we're gonna take them to the cleaners tonight. We 0-1. We're the best team in the world, and yeah, I'm confident of a big win tonight. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident.
Tom, say that with your chest. I like it. Go for it. I love it. Right, we'll go along. We'll go to Paul next. Paul, big shoes to follow there. What are you predicting?
Well, I could imagine that we're going to be a little bit conservative in this game. I'm thinking back to the tie against Leipzig, where we played the away game first and finished 1-1. With the quality we're coming up against today, I could see maybe the same result, and with a view to finishing the job in Manchester.
Okay, thank you. Right, down to Forat. What are you thinking for tonight? Give us your prediction.
Yeah, 3-1 was a lot for you, but I predict 4-1 for us. I don't know why. I think Haaland missed a lot of chances last game, which is good because he doesn't miss a lot. This game he will not miss. We'll win a lot.
Oh my goodness, okay. Right, Sarah, you top it off.
I like Forat's confidence. I normally get told off for being overly ambitious at this point, but I will say last time against Munich, I underestimated. So I'm going to go for 4-0 to us, which is what I said. Oh my
goodness me. Somebody picked me off the floor. That was all incredible. Are you all as speechless as I am right now? Fans, thank you so much. Absolutely loving your confidence. Right, Sean, go to give us yours.
I think they've just taken Paul's.
That's timid now. My prediction is after that.
I was just thinking that. For me, I'm 3-1 City. I think we're going to be really at them and just it's going to be a tough game. But I see a 3-1 win for City.
Steph,
2-1 City.
Okay, and the final prediction of the night goes to the fourth sexiest man in Scottish football. Paul, what's your prediction?
Can I go 3-1 as well?
You can do whatever you want.
Look, as much as they're all talking about the scars from last year, the Madrid players will know that over the two games we dominated them. And tonight is Jack Grealish's night. And I remember a certain, and I've got to get this in, a certain ex-player that used to play over the road doing the commentary last night, and when Jack missed his chance, last season, when Jack missed his chance, he said he's ruined his legacy before it started.
Revenge. Don't tell me there's not revenge. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going 4-1 as well. I think Sarah said 4-1. I'm going 4-1. We're having it. We're having it this year. Thank you so much for joining us on Match Day Live. Paul Dickoff, Steph Horton and Sean Gota and all our fans on the fan wall as well. Match Day Live will be back at half-time talking about the first half, and at full-time, of course. Get your commentary now with the wonderful Alistair Mann and Michael Brown. Come on, Blues, it's our year. We'll see you at half-time.
Thank you, Natalie. Well, we've been here before. Not just the iconic Bernabeu, but also the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. There's a feeling in this competition that to win the greatest club prize in the game, you have to knock out its most successful club. And for City, that means, of course, overcoming the mighty Real Madrid. 14-time winners and the side which stunned the Blues a year ago with